Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bradders, and welcome to a new podcast of sorts. This is Bradders After Dark. In this sort of laid-back, chilled-out show, I'm going to be going over some of my thoughts on gaming news, wider gaming world, as you guys enjoy the KSP news stuff, and so I thought it'd be nice to sort of expand my horizons somewhat. Here I am in my executive office, all alone, and I'm just going to be talking about some random shit with you. What the hell was that? What the hell was that?
Hello?
Hello?
Hello, I made it. I know I'm a bit early, but I dressed up for the occasion, so...
Oh, Simon, I wasn't expecting you for like another, what, two hours?
Yeah, but you know, I was just really hype, and like, I loved, well, most of the stuff at E3, so you know, I was just raring to go.
Okay, fair enough. Come sit down. Come sit down next to me. You can join in. Why not? We can make this work, I think. Oh well. Just breathe, Callum. Breathe.
What do you think of my outfit? Chose especially for this.
Well, where are you?
I'm right here.
Well, come sit down. Come sit down. Take a seat.
I'm coming.
Take a seat. Jesus Christ, why did I let him do this? It's interesting. It's certainly it's unique, is what it is.
You think? I even showered before coming here. Like, I don't do that often.
Oh yeah, I can tell. Just a quick word. This is a fairly formal podcast. You know, this is sort of like a dinner party, if you know what I mean. So obviously suits and stuff, they're sort of needed. So if you want to get changed, then
okay, you've got some clothes here I can throw on, right?
Yeah, sure. I mean, they might be your size, so
okay, I'll run. I'll get changed for you.
Okay. Technical difficulty, viewers. Please stand by here. Sorry about him.
How's this looking? I'll come back
it's looking fantastic. I'm totally not playing with my gun here, plotting my various attempts. There we go.
Is that better now?
That's much better. Well done, Simon.
What'd I buy that flight cap for then?
So, anyway, guys, welcome to our laid-back, chilled, smooth jazz podcast of the evening. You're looking very intently into the camera there, Simon.
Yeah, that's kind of my thing.
Is it the Vietnam flashbacks hitting you again?
Yeah, I mean, those things are difficult, man. I guess too much.
But anyway, what we wanted to talk about in this podcast today was sort of our thoughts on E3. We're going to go over the various conferences, and hopefully these notifications won't get in the way. I don't know why they keep popping up. I mean, I think this is probably only the trial version of the camera, to be fair. I'll probably have to upgrade to the pro version if you guys decide you like this podcast format. So, to kick off this podcast, Simon has a list of the different conferences that happened on E3. So, Simon, how about, as you're the guest on this show today, you pick one, and we'll see how it goes from there.
Awesome. So I thought we could start off with the Ubisoft conference, because they have done a lot of good things this year. Or, in my opinion, anyway.
Well, what sort of things are you mentioning sort of specifically? What games are you most looking forward to, do you think?
So, when they announced Assassin's Creed Origins, at first I thought, oh, so it's just another Assassin's Creed game, but then I looked deeper into it, and they seem to have turned it into a proper RPG, somewhat like The Witcher 3.
Yeah, I get that, to be fair. To be fair, Assassin's Creed has been a game that I've always I've looked at it, and I've thought, you know, looks pretty cool. Like Syndicate, you've got to admit the world in that was just absolutely incredible to look at.
The setting in every Assassin's Creed game has been amazing, except recently it's just the gameplay and the story been letting it down.
Exactly, yeah. And that's the main problem. That's why I've sort of been shying away from playing like an Assassin's Creed game before. But I'm genuinely thinking about picking up Assassin's Creed Origins, and I might pop my Assassin's Creed cherry on that one, and for lack of a better word, and we might even get to see some on my channel if you want to see more of that, guys. If you let me know in the comments down below, I guess. But potential problems I can potentially see. They appear to have replaced a lot of the old mechanics in Assassin's Creed with this, like the eagle vision and stuff that they've added in. What is it, owl vision or something now?
Nah, well, it is
pigeon vision or something.
Eagle vision, but it's just an actual eagle now.
Yeah, and I think they run the risk of potentially, I don't know, switching up too much to sort of alienate the fan base, or unintentionally alienating the fan base. Obviously, this remains to be seen. I could just be talking out my arse, but that remains to be seen.
See, I am a huge Assassin's Creed fan, and I have been for a very long time. And even though like the past few games have been a bit disappointing, I still have played them to completion. Like Syndicate, I did love it, but I still did feel like there was a lot missing.
Yeah.
And especially with the weapons in there, I don't know if you know, but like they had like 3 preset weapons, and you couldn't really customize them or anything.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've seen of Assassin's Creed Syndicate as well, you beat up like 20 thugs and you maybe get like 1 bullet from the lot of them. Which, bearing in mind, I love this pistol. I mean, look at this thing; it's beautiful. I'm a big gun nut, for video games, not in real life, but in video games. And well, that's just sort of. I wish it sort of had a bit more ammo, because I mean, come on, revolvers were kind of common even in Victorian Britain.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and so I think that sort of thing should sort of if we should have gotten a bit more ammo, made it a bit, I don't know, not easier, but you know what I'm trying to say, a bit easier to sort of get into
especially
it,
with a character like Jacob, because obviously you have Jacob and Evie in there. Evie's the stealthy one, so if she doesn't get much ammo, it's not a problem. With Jacob, you're more expect to run in, guns blazing, and just beat everyone up, which is what I did most of the time as Jacob, because it was a lot more fun that way.
Yeah.
But I did find myself running out of ammo a fair bit, like mid-mission. You could go looting all the guards, but I'd rather beat them up and then just run to the objective. That's kind of been my style in Assassin's Creed. I never took it carefully.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've never really been much of a stealth game person in general, let alone sort of Assassin's Creed. And I know sort of like the AC4 and all the games since then, there is the stealth aspect to it, but obviously I'm never really much of a stealth person. I'm more sort of run and gun, especially you can even see it in games like Kerbal Space Program that I usually cover on my channel. I'm usually just there like going as aggressively as possible, trying to just get as quickly as possible and just sort of complete the game as quickly as I can, or complete my objective as quick as possible. And so I feel like it's almost to my detriment when you're sort of forced to play in a stealthy way. I mean, don't get me wrong, that is definitely a good thing. It forces you to play in different ways, and it helps expand your skills, but I don't know, there's two sides to it, I guess.
Yeah, and that is a good thing they did with Syndicate, I believe, personally, because as you were saying, like, you don't like when a game forces you to go stealthy, so it did, well, not necessarily the option, but half of the game was more stealthy than the other. And like when you were playing as Jacob, you had the arsenal with you to not have to be stealthy, whereas with Evie, like, you know, she had less health, she did less damage, so you did have to think about it. And like, I do love stealth games, but with Assassin's Creed, I never really considered it a stealth game, if you know what I mean. It just didn't have that sort of feeling to it.
Yeah.
As you would with like Clancy's Splinter Cell.
Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell.
Yeah, I'm making my own game. It's Tom Clancy, you know.
It's gonna be on fucking Steam Direct or something.
Yeah, whatever it's called now.
No, meme light's gone down. With regards to other Ubisoft games, while we're thinking about trash games, other Ubisoft games that were covered in the conference, what did you think of them? What did you think of the conference as a whole, actually?
Well, it was what it was, really, wasn't it? It was just...
Of course it was. I mean, yes, it was what it was. It's like calling a spade a spade. Like, yes, what was it? Well, it was a conference, Callum.
Like, they didn't... Well, as far as I remember, they didn't really do anything that special. Like, Nintendo was all cute and cringy, and then Ubisoft was just... Like, what... Ubisoft
Speaking
was
of cute
their
and
own
cringy,
logo. It's just flat and... we are Ubisoft games.
I've heard the white dog turd analogy been used before with this new logo. But speaking of Nintendo, actually, and Ubisoft, what are we thinking of the new Rabbids Mario crossover that's coming out? What's it called? Mario and Rabbids remix Skrillex edition, whatever. I don't know.
It is Mario X Rabbids Kingdom Battle. Because everything needs an X now, Microsoft.
Yes, yeah, we'll get onto that later.
Yeah, genuinely, like, I wouldn't say excited for it, but I think I might pick it up and play it when it comes out, or at least give it a shot, because it seems to me a lot like XCOM, which
Yeah.
I did love the gameplay of XCOM, but XCOM on drugs.
What, like someone at Nintendo was just like burst in through the Ubisoft doors one day and was just like, we've got a great idea, guys. And they're just like, are you high? And he's just like, no one fucking cares. Like, we've got a fucking amazing idea for a game. And they're just like, sure, go ahead. And the Nintendo executive, wide-eyed, he just goes, so you know those stupid rabbit things you made that augmented reality game for the Kinect for like a few years ago? And they're like, yeah. It's just like, how about we put Mario in it? And they're just like, sure. And just like lobbed like a stack of money at it and just make your goddamn game.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem very interesting, and it seems all cute and stuff. Like, the Rabbids, like, it's like Minions but more annoying.
Really?
That's how I see them.
I've always quite liked the Rabbids, I'm ashamed to admit. I used to play the games, like the DS games that were back when Rayman was part of the cast of it, when he was there as like the supporting character to get them off the ground. I always used to play as the Rabbids, and I always used to actually really enjoy them. Maybe it was just because I had a really simple, basic sense of humour back then, because obviously I was a child, and obviously they are aimed towards children because they're children's characters and everything, but I don't know, there's something charming I find them about now that I don't find about Minions. Minions I just find obnoxious now because they're everywhere, but I mean, Rabbids have had a good few years now at the spotlight, and so maybe they can become cool again. They can become the new Minions, and we'll hate them in a few years' time. Like, they'll be on everything. There'll be everything you see will have Minions on it. You'll have like Minions plasters and Minions, I don't know, dildos. I don't. Oh wait, actually no, you already probably already have those. In fact, I'm not even going to Google that. Like,
Electronic Rabbids.
oh no. Oh my god, it screams every time.
Yeah, so that seems very interesting. I'm not sure on what it's going to be like, because it seems like what they said was that Minions, Rabbids have invaded the Mario Kingdom or whatever.
Yeah.
And you're fighting back against them, but it also seems that, like, Rabbids are part of your team, so I guess there is going to be some, or they're going to try to do a deeper storyline about
So
Mario and fucking Rabbids.
So that basically the Rabbid kind just sort of annex the Mushroom Kingdom, and they're forced to live alongside them. It's actually going to be some really dark and sort of like real deep story about like the character development. And oh god, you'd have one Rabbid that's like sort of disillusioned with the whole Rabbid cause, and he's sort of he tries to rebel against them and try and kick the Rabbids out of the Mushroom Kingdom.
But if I'm not wrong, it's being developed for the Nintendo Switch, isn't it?
What isn't been developed for the Nintendo Switch at the moment, Simon?
But it is being made by Ubisoft.
Yeah, that's true, which probably means that microtransactions, and you'll probably be able to buy Mario Odyssey's cap or something when and you'll be able to like infect other Rabbids or something. You'll
yeah, so I guess we'll see how that pans out.
Yeah. While we're on the subject, actually, Mario Odyssey, definitely a big change of direction with regards to sort of the focus of the game, like relative to the first trailer that they released. So, what are you thinking about it? Mario becoming basically a parasite.
That's a good way to put it. It's just, yeah, it looks really interesting actually. Like, Mario's just evolved so much from the like small platformer that it first started out as to being able to take over enemy. You've got like these large, diverse levels that you can explore, and you don't have any time limits. And it seems to be like they've sort of looked at Breath of the Wild and gone, we need something like that because that's working and that's what people are liking right now.
Yeah. See, this is my theory with Mario Odyssey, right? So, you know The Last of Us?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So, Mario Odyssey is actually a low-key prequel to The Last of Us, okay? Because think about it, right? Because Mario's parasite is infecting the brains of enemies, friends, or indeed people in the real world, because obviously he's got New York City or whatever it's called in Mushroom Kingdom Land or whatever. So he's infecting those people, and that's the same sort of ethic, I guess, of how the virus gets into people's brains in The Last of Us. So can we make the link there? Is that too much of a stretch? I don't know.
You're looking too deep into it, but there is going to be fan fiction.
Oh god, we'll have Rule 34. Rule 34 Mario Odyssey before we know. Oh no. I can just see. I think we should get the game theorists on this, because I think that's a genuinely interesting thing that we need to look at there.
Something like that is going to happen for sure.
Oh, that's a Naughty Dog will pick it up for the next game, The Last of Us Part 2. That's actually how it started.
You'll have Mario Odyssey Easter eggs hidden around corners. See it like really shriveled up and destroyed Mario's hat right at the epicenter of
How about a really shriveled up and destroyed Mario? That would be much...
You see it chasing you through the darkness. It's me.
Wooha! Just echoing.
That would actually... I would be terrified of
I
Mario
would as well, especially if you just saw like the cap glowing, like the M in his hat like glowing, and then like the eyes glowing red in the distance or something. Someone needs to
get on a horror Mario game.
Yeah, someone needs to make... Well, they have done. It's called Luigi's Mansion.
Oh yeah.
Except that's not really a horror game. If that's a horror game, then the fair that comes into town every now and then, that might as well be like, I don't know, the London Dungeon for all we care. If Luigi Mansion's a horror game. I think obviously we're ignoring the elephant in the room with this podcast, and that is of course the Xbox or Xbox One X in longhand. So obviously we couldn't do this E3 podcast without talking about the Xbox One X. So, settle yourself in, Simon. What do you think? As a PC gamer, might I
I don't... Like, I made the jump from Xbox to PlayStation back when... Was it the PS3 Slim? Was that like the updated version of the PS3 that came out?
Yes, I think so. I'd never really played on PS3, so...
Yeah, whatever that was called. Basically, I made the jump from Xbox to PlayStation when my Xbox 360 red-ringed about 3 times, and each time I got it repaired and it just kept dying, and at that point I just said, you know what, I'm gonna switch to PS3, and since then I don't really know anything about Xbox other than that it's the short for Xbox One X. It's can't speak. The short for Xbox One X is Xbox, and that's pretty much all I know, and it's got teraflops everywhere or whatever.
Oh, Microsoft walking around with all their teraflops hanging out, teraflopping around, you know. It's like, I get, like, obviously, true 4K, that's the main selling point of the Xbox One X.
Oh yeah,
or Xbox. Sure. I don't, what do I even call it? Xbox? Xbox?
just stick with the One X, I guess.
So the One X, it's got, obviously 4K, like I say, fantastic marketing ploy there. You heard them at the conference. I can't count how many times they said true 4K. It was almost the amount of times they said exclusive and innovation. It's like, it's a very good marketing gimmick. The thing is, though, they are trading resolution and graphics for frame rate, which I would argue on a console is probably more important than a resolution, because obviously in a console you're sat at a TV, you're sat a good 5 feet away from the TV, so resolution, while it matters obviously, but it doesn't matter as much when you're sat so far away from a TV. But frame rate is something that you can perceive no matter what, especially with newer smart TVs that have higher refresh rates now that are starting to come on the market. You'd start to think that maybe even if it couldn't do 4K, maybe if it even stuck to 1080, or maybe even made the bump to 1440, Xbox would be like making that pledge to sort of make everything at least 60 FPS, sometimes higher, in order to accommodate those higher refresh rates, wouldn't you? Well, that's my thought anyway.
Yeah, see, I completely agree. Like, as a person who mostly plays on PC, I used to like play on my PS4 a fair bit, but then I just stopped working my monitor, all messed up. So I've made the switch pretty much entirely to PC about 2 years ago. Yeah. And like, yes, the Xbox One X is incredibly powerful with its 6 teraflops of something. I don't like. Do you know what that means? Because I have no idea.
Well, I don't know whatever's been flopping around inside there. I know it's vapor cooled, so something's getting wet.
It does have 12 gigabytes of GDDR5 RAM.
Yeah.
Which is that's fairly impressive for a console. Like 12 gigabytes of RAM for a console is.
But what that'll mean basically is that the menus will actually open now, rather than like on Xbox One, where even when I go on mine now, admittedly I do have the older version, so obviously I don't have the 1S or whatever, but I know of reports of 1Ss that do, even the 1S like I say, that do actually still stutter in the menus. The Windows 10 sort of UI, I guess, is just complete arse to put it bluntly. Like messages when you're particularly popular take forever to load and stuff like that, so maybe having more RAM is actually going to help with that sort of thing.
Yeah, I do like. It's got 326 gigs of bandwidth. That's good.
Yeah,
and of course the 4K whatever. I completely agree with what you said earlier. I would gladly play 1080p because that to me is completely fine.
Yeah,
with 60 FPS rather than having a bit of stutter at 4K.
Yeah, because I mean 30 FPS. Like I went back and I played. I think my friend who's in the army actually, he came back. God, it must have been a few months ago now. And we decided to play Battlefield 3 on the Xbox 360 for what it was worth, like a couple of the co-op missions to try and just sort of relive old times, I guess, because that's obviously where I got the channel started and everything. And we did that, and obviously it was going back to 30 FPS and 720p or whatever it was on there, and it was like watching a slideshow. I absolutely hated it.
Yeah.
And it's like I played GTA on console the other day, and that was horrible. To be frank, it was my eyes were straining because of it. And honestly, I don't think I can go back from 60 FPS now. It's so much smoother.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like when I first went from 30 to 60 FPS, it is a huge difference. Like I don't honestly think that many people can see the difference between 4K and 1080p unless you've got like perfect 20/20 vision.
Not from a distance.
Yeah, but you can. Yeah. You can tell the difference between 30 and 60. Yeah. Even if like you go on a YouTube video and you go from 30 FPS to 60 FPS just to see the difference, like that is huge. Even when you're not playing a game.
Yeah. It's like Yeah. What were you going to say? Sorry.
No, do go ahead.
I was going to say, I've lost my train of thought now. You continue as your point.
Okay, yeah, I was just going to say that I do think, I hope that like Microsoft have done a good job of this, and that the Xbox will be able to run smoothly at 60 with like good graphics.
This is the thing.
If that is the case, I think it could completely kill off the PS4, because I know PS4 sold much better than the Xbox One when it first came out, but with the PS4 Pro, from what I heard, it's a complete piece of shit.
Yeah,
this could kill off Sony.
Yeah, this is the thing. Basically what Sony have done, from what I've seen in this whole console war thing. Personally, I'm not even gonna stake a flag in a camp because you'll just get flame in the comments. But you just sort of see Sony. Microsoft did the exact same thing when they launched the Xbox One, but Sony have rested on their laurels with the PS4 because obviously it's blown Xbox away. It's obviously been the better console in terms of business practices, been ever so slightly more powerful, games have been better optimized for it, etc. And they've blown the Xbox One away, and the sales figures obviously reflect that. But now obviously they've rested on their laurels, and now obviously the PS4 Pro, I hesitate to call it a flop, but it certainly hasn't done as well as Sony were expecting. And then obviously you've got stuff with cross-platform play, which I don't even want to get into. There's a Jimquisition on it that I'll link in the description down below. But obviously cross-platform play, Sony's throwing their toys out the pram about that, and it's a sorry state of affairs, to be fair. It's like I say, when Xbox first launched the Xbox One, and they had all those shady business practices to go along with it, and like all the DRM stuff to go with it after they'd had such a successful generation with the Xbox 360. It's been a weird generation for consoles, and I'm glad that I sort of made the transition to PC in this sort of in this weird time, I guess. Times they are a-changing.
Oh yeah, for sure. The PC it's blown up recently, hasn't it? It's getting a lot more of the share of the market, but
you see that with
problem.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
but
see
the
it with
thing
the
is,
Windows
like,
10 stuff.
a lot of companies don't reflect how much the PC has blown up.
Yeah.
So like even someone like Take-Two,
Oh god, we'll get onto them
I'm not
later.
even gonna mention the whole mods thing right now, but you know, like back when they first released GTA 5, it took like what was it 2 years for it to come to the PC,
Yeah, it was something
and
like
then it's gonna be the same with Red Dead Redemption 2, isn't it? Like it's
Yeah.
gonna come out on consoles, and then PC gamers will have to wait a long time, and that does slightly like I
Yeah.
don't care. Play games on whatever you want. Just
know-
play games because they are amazing. Like it is a great way to relax, but
play it on your calculator if you have to. You've
yeah,
got no other way.
play some Tetris on your old Nokia.
Yeah,
But like,
because
it's
even when
just,
the world's ended, you can still play Tetris on your Nokia brick.
yeah, it's just companies need to acknowledge the fact that PC has also blown up as much, if not more, than consoles now.
Yeah, it's because obviously I think that PC is just more versatile. Like consoles are either going to have to adapt, or I'm actually genuinely thinking that they may even sort of perhaps die out within the next sort of 5 years or so potentially. Like,
Yeah.
I have every confidence that they won't, because obviously consoles. I hesitate to say this because it isn't always true, because consoles, at least perceived by most of the general public, are sort of cheaper, aren't they? Even though you can build a comparable gaming PC for the money. But most people, young people who perhaps aren't as clued up on PC gaming, they see consoles as the cheaper option, so they'll get one. So obviously they'll still continue to sell and everything. It's just what the companies do, like the extortion that is Xbox Live and PS Plus. Like, I don't want to have to pay twice to use my internet connection, and yet I do.
Oh, yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Right. I'd like to take a quick break here because
Okay, guys.
everyone's home.
We're going to have a whiskey break, so bear with us 1 second. Good God! That is strong.
That was a strong one.
That was a strong one.
Finished the bottle.
Bloody hell, what were you drinking?
It is liquor from San Marino.
San Marino. I thought you had cognac.
Yeah, but you know, saving that for a special occasion.
In case you don't know what cognac is, those you viewing at home, it's basically it's alcoholic custard, essentially.
Well, not quite. There are obviously different types of custard. That's a blip. Oh man, okay.
Yeah, they're all available from your local Sainsbury's, from Tesco,
Right, yeah.
you know.
Yeah, there are loads of different types of cognac, but this one is homemade, and it genuinely does taste like somebody got a tin of custard, whatever custard comes in, and just poured a bottle of vodka into it.
Do you know what? That's quite interesting actually, because do you know what made me want to pour a bottle of vodka and bleach and various other things into my stomach
What might that be?
during E3? It was Bethesda's conference. Let me try and rephrase that without stuttering my words. It was Bethesda's conference, Simon. My God. What was going on there then? So, what should we start with? There's so many things that we can cover with Bethesda. Like, I don't even know. Should we start with the paid mods? Should we start with Skyrim again? Should we start with Fallout and Skyrim? How much Skyrim do you want with your money? Like, let's
I want
talk
all
about
the Skyrim.
You what?
I want all the Skyrim for all hundreds of dollars that people will currently be putting into it now.
Yeah, well, thing is, right, Bethesda, obviously, they announced it's in development for the Nintendo Switch, which was like a pre-Nintendo Switch reveal that was going round, wasn't it? Sort of people saying, oh yeah, Skyrim's going to be on. And then Bethesda denied it, and so they've been sort of like, crap, we'll release it anyway. And so they're doing it. Obviously, we don't know whether they had it in development beforehand or not, but it's there now, it's happening. And it's just, how old's Skyrim now? When did it come out? Like 2012, 2013?
2011.
2011, my God.
11th of November?
So
11th of the 11th, 2011 is when it came out.
So it's a 6-year-old game that's been released on new consoles, and we don't know, is it the remastered version, or is it the old version that's coming to the Switch? Because obviously Switch is underpowered compared to the rest of the consoles, isn't it?
Yeah, I do feel like it won't be remastered. Then again, having played both the old version and remastered edition, there is pretty much no difference.
Yeah. That's the thing that gets me. Remastered games, like obviously, I hesitate to use this as an analogy, but COD 4 remastered, for all the shady business practices, like all the supply drops and the fact that it's only now just been released as a standalone and stuff like that, for all the shady business practices around it, it is a proper, I use that in inverted commas, a proper remaster, in that the graphics have been updated, balance tweaks have been made, bugs have been fixed, maps have been tweaked and stuff like that. Obviously they have added in a load of shit as well, like the supply drops and the fact that it has to be bought alongside a game up until now that's pretty crap. But it is a remaster of sorts, as was like the PC version and the next gen version of GTA 5, which obviously we're using for this video. But Skyrim, I've never actually seen much of a difference. Like, I've seen the remaster and I've seen like the original side by side, and they look exactly the same. Like, I don't know, you're more clued in on Skyrim than me, so what sort of things do you think that they've changed, like in terms of the game?
The only thing I can tell they have changed, well, obviously it's got amiibo support, doesn't it? So you can dress up as Zelda pretty much. Not Zelda, Link from the Breath of the Wild, so not even proper Link, which really disappointed me.
Yeah.
And it has the Nintendo Joy-Con things. You can use them as motion controls.
Oh no.
Which
I thought they were dead.
That's a great idea for kids, but
our kids going to be playing Skyrim. That's heavy 18.
And not only that, like, most people would want Skyrim for the Switch for the portability of the Switch itself.
Yeah.
And obviously then you wouldn't be using motion controls, like you wouldn't sit on an airplane and wave your arms around, you'd get arrested when you landed.
Unless you're on United Airlines flight. Like,
and fuck's sake. And then, because Skyrim is a pretty intensive game, the Switch only has like 3-4 hours of battery life at best, and with the amount of processing power that Skyrim will need,
yeah,
it's not gonna last long. So like, I struggle to believe that would probably last me a flight from here to like going back home in Poland.
Yeah. Well, like, you think about it, don't you? The Switch battery life, I have to say, is kind of underwhelming. Like, you've got a Switch, haven't you? And like,
my dad does, yeah.
Oh, your dad does, yeah. So what do you think of it? Because obviously I've only had very limited experience with one. What do you think of the Switch as sort of a console, in a nutshell, really?
The only reason I'd want to Switch is to play some of the games on it, because my dad recently got ARMS. Like, have you seen that? It's a weird...
Yes, I've seen ARMS.
thing. And that was pretty fun, but it was not worth £45.
Yeah, that's the same with 1-2 Switch.
Same with 1-2 Switch, yeah, that's pretty much trash. Like, what, there's that one fucking blowjob minigame. And Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, it's a fantastic game. And that's pretty much the only reason I'd want to get a Switch.
At the moment,
as a console, it is really underpowered.
Yeah.
Like, it's very Nintendo console.
I thought you said Nintendo cock then. It's very Nintendo cock, like Nintendo just sat there in Japan with the big like blue and pink sort of.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me either. But yeah, like, the portability aspect of it is really cool. But
yeah.
I wouldn't, like, when it's like, in the handheld mode where you've got the controllers either side of it.
Yeah.
Incredibly uncomfortable. Like, I hate playing it like that because the way the controls are laid out, like, it's all vertical.
Yeah.
With an Xbox controller, you have it all slightly like off at angles with
so you can relax
face
your
buttons.
thumbs, isn't it?
Yeah, but with that, it is completely vertical, and it is very uncomfortable to hold in that mode. In the like small screen mode where you can stand up like on a table in front of you and play it like that is like, I like that, but that also means you have to either play it really weirdly with the two Joy-Cons separately, which I just couldn't get used to. I didn't like the feel of that.
Yeah.
Or you have to carry like the Joy-Con controller dock thing with you, which it kind of defeats the point of the portability of it.
Yeah, 100%.
So I do like it as a concept, but if it had a little bit more power, obviously if it could run properly in like home mode or whatever they call it, like on the big screen.
Yeah,
that would be actually amazing.
Properly upscaled to 1080p rather than just sort of been whatever it does in that box there, because it does.
I think it's 720p on its small monitor, isn't it? It's
yeah,
just
720 on the normal screen, and then it's supposed to upscale to 1080, but it doesn't always. It's sort of like a dynamic resolution thing depending on the game.
And even more than that, it doesn't run at 60 FPS in the big screen.
Yeah, it's a shame really. Like it's a tough one with the Switch, because obviously it's a portable console, isn't it? And if you treat it as solely a portable console, then it's the most portable console, powerful. What am I saying? The most powerful. The whiskey. It's the most powerful portable console that's ever been made. But then you think of it, it's marketed as a home console, and then suddenly it's sort of marketed as sort of a inferior, cheaper, but not by much, but like an inferior product to the Xbox One or the Xbox One X and the PS4 Pro. It's sort of like an inferior product, so it's sort of meant for kids as well with its cutesy styling. But
yeah,
I don't know. But there is so many games in development for it, as we've already touched on with Mario Odyssey, Rabbids and Mario Electric Boogaloo, whatever. And then obviously we've got Skyrim coming to it as well. There are a few other games that they're confirmed for the Switch that have been ported across. Were there? I can't remember them off the top of my head.
Yeah, I do believe there were, and I will have a quick look now, because there was some interesting stuff with it.
Yeah, because obviously the Switch's big problem at launch was that it's obviously didn't have any games. It was basically a Zelda machine, and now obviously we're starting to get more details regarding like games that are actually decent and not like anime and Breath of the Wild. But now we're actually getting like some proper games, like the new Mario games coming out of this, like I say, this Rabid game, Rabid's XCOM game. We've got, and then like obviously Skyrim and other games like that. And so I don't know, I think that if Nintendo can get it right, and if the games that are ported across from third parties are good, then it could end up being a very, very positive thing. Unlike, for example, Bethesda's paid mods. That's a whole can of worms that are going to have to open. So basically, if you weren't aware, people watching at home, Bethesda, what is it called? Is it Creators Club?
Creation Club, yeah.
Creation Club, yeah. And essentially they said, oh, you know, this isn't paid mods, but it's paid mods. Let's be honest. What were the sort of the specifics of it?
So basically what it is sort of like a hub for Bethesda itself and the more like well-known and established mod creators to be able to organize the things they have created, like the mods for the console, within this sort of hub that people can then access. But see, that sounds like a really good idea, because that for consoles, that is amazing, because then you can have easily accessible mods for consoles, and that's a great thing. But the thing that they messed up with is the fact that you have these, I don't know what they're calling it, it's some sort of credits or something, where you buy them with real money for the credits in the game, and you can then, with the credits you bought, purchase the mods. And that is, for me, a big problem, because modding should never be something that is monetized.
Yeah. And we see this in mod communities, like for all different games, but obviously, seeing as I obviously have quite deep roots with the KSP community, you see it in the modding scene for KSP, you know, mods are free, and that's how they should remain to be for the community, because that's obviously the best way to help them grow. And then obviously you see large mod pages, they set up like a PayPal donation or a Patreon or whatever, and then people can donate if they have the money to spare and they love the mod and they want to keep supporting it. Then they donate through that Patreon. It doesn't work 100% of the time, but usually the most successful mods, you know, they do end up getting donation. They can be supported and maintained, and I think really that's probably the best way to sort of do that, don't you think?
Yeah, like, you shouldn't have to force someone to buy your mods. Like, if somebody likes your mod, then they can feel free to donate, and that's a good way, because that's people giving money out of the goodness of their hearts. And obviously if they then don't like the mod or get bored of it, or say it clashes with another mod that they want, they can just uninstall it, and they'll have lost nothing if they haven't donated. Even if they've donated, they haven't paid for the mod, they've just given back to the community.
Okay.
Whereas with this, it is pretty much a DLC machine.
Yeah. So here I am playing devil's advocate here for a second. So paid mods, okay. would they stop an episode like we've seen recently with Take-Two and Open4 for GTA Online? What do you reckon? Do you reckon that been paying for mods, do you reckon that it would legitimize the mod as a business practice, especially if it was screened with like the developer first before it's put on sale? Do you reckon that it'd be legitimized and so therefore they wouldn't put up a DMCA against it? Like I say, playing devil's advocate here, I don't agree with that, but sort of...
Yeah, I understand. See, like, I see where you're coming from, I get what you're saying, but like, to me, modding, like, has already been widely recognized as a good thing.
Yeah.
And I don't think the monetization would kickstart it anymore.
Yeah.
But I do think that it is good that the developers are in contact with the modders and they can help them out if need be. They can, like, the modders can directly ask for any permissions they need, things like that. So
yeah.
The contact there is a very good thing. Like, game developers and modders need to be two tightly knit communities.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's just the fact that you can tell it's a money grabbing move, basically. Well, that's my cynical opinion, I guess.
Yeah.
Always been a cynic, always will be. But yeah, it's just I do get where they're coming from, but see, like, with paid mods already exist, but they're not the kind of mods people want. The paid mods are like online mods for GTA, for example. You have to pay like £30.
Yeah.
To then mess with people in online, and that's like, that takes away from what modders want to be, because the good modders, the ones that do just want to enhance people's experience in single player, they don't charge for their mods, and it's worked so far. I think it would carry on
100%.
working, but I guess we'll just have to see what happens.
That's absolutely true. Personally, what do you think of sort of the modding scene in general? Do you think that sort of AAA games should sort of encourage modding? Like, for example, I know that the Battlefield community, for example, would love a return to the days when maps were moddable. You could make your own custom maps and stuff like that. Do you think that should be something that AAA developers should be encouraging more, or do you reckon that that's realistically just a pie in the sky idea?
See, I think the game developers, like AAA game developers, definitely should encourage modding, because it allows people to express their creativity and all that kind of stuff. But
yeah,
the problem is when modding gets involved, people, like, say for example with GTA,
yeah,
the mods in GTA, like in single player, they're amazing. Like, I love messing around with mods in single player. It's one of the best experiences I've had in gaming. But
yeah,
Take-Two then see that as, hey, he's playing single player, not multiplayer, and multiplayer is where we get our money from.
Yeah. So
I do think that they do have a certain, what would you call it, withdrawal, maybe, I don't know, like, they do want to they want to be able to use modding to their advantage so that they can make money in both single player and online, things like that. So
using that logic then, do you think, for example, like, obviously with Kerbal, obviously Kerbal Space Program has a paid expansion coming up now. It'll be free to some players, and then obviously not free for those who bought the game more recently. What do you think? Do you think that that's a classic case of this? Like, sort of the mods, obviously, because most of the parts within this DLC are parts that could otherwise have been mods or added into the vanilla game, just as like parts as they always have been done in sort of previous updates to the game. Do you reckon that this is something to do with the takeover of, say, Take-Two Interactive, for example, and obviously the push to monetize content that could have otherwise been user created or added into the game for free, maybe?
See, I do not trust Take-Two at all anymore. Especially since, like, if you think about it in, like, order of what they said, the CEO said that they're under-monetizing their players.
Yeah.
And then announced there's going to be a paid DLC for KSP. Like, there is something going on there.
Yeah.
Do you think that, like, Take-Two, I just don't, like, obviously I'm not boycotting them, as you can see, I'm sitting right next to you. But it's just, I just don't really trust them. And
yeah, I think that's a safe stance to have on any sort of corporation, to be fair. You shouldn't put, this is just general public advice, that you shouldn't put trust in a large company, really, to be honest, because let's think about it. They're a business at the end of the day. They want to make as much money as possible,
Yeah, you
and
can't blame them,
sometimes
really, I
they'll
guess,
do
but-
shady stuff to get that way. And
Yeah, exactly. It's nothing you can do about it.
yeah. So, what else? Coming back onto the topic of E3, because we went off on a massive tangent.
Oh yeah,
there. Coming back onto E3, what other conferences were there that we wanted to sort of go over? I think it was a Sony one, wasn't there? I mean, we've already touched on Sony a little bit with the whole PS4 debacle, but what do you reckon? The games, I think they're the big one.
The only Sony thing I really cared about, well, there were two. There was three, actually. Fair point. Three. There was Spider-Man, a new Spider-Man game. From
Yeah.
what I can tell, it looks like they've ditched the previous business practice they had, and they've actually created a proper Spider-Man game, like the way it should be. With, like, from what I can tell, it's a more like experienced Peter Parker, where he's already grown into becoming a superhero, and is just following his story through that. So that is really exciting, and as long as the web slinging in that is good, then I'm gonna get it.
Yeah, because I mean, I've seen videos of the old Spider-Man game. I've never really played them myself. I've not really been much of a fan of movie tie-ins, or obviously just sort of superhero games in general. I've never really been much of a fan. But I have seen the odd bit of gameplay from Spider-Man. It does just look fairly generic, like the Spider-Man 2, whatever it was, Amazing Spider-Man 2 video game, was it? I can't remember the last one.
Yeah. That was trash as far as I remember.
Yeah, and so I think that obviously having this new Spider-Man like be so revolutionary, well, is what you consider to be revolutionary and innovative. I think that's definitely a good thing, because I don't know, I've been waiting for a long time to see like a decent superhero game. Like the Deadpool games have been alright, I guess.
Yeah, the Deadpool game was pretty fun. I did enjoy that.
Yeah, Nolan North did it as well. The voice of Deadpool. I didn't know that up until a couple of days ago. I can't believe that. No, I genuinely didn't know that. But yeah, I genuinely think that we're crying out for a good superhero game that isn't like Arkham Knight.
Yeah, the Arkham series has really been milked and unfortunately killed with Arkham Knight.
Yeah, I remember, God, it must be just over 2 years ago now, I did a video on Arkham Knight and how KSP could learn from it in terms of porting to consoles. And as you can tell, they completely followed my advice, because now the game's pretty much dead on console, and they had kicked out the developer that was doing it, and they had to hire a new one. So yeah, that's a lesson to be learned from the industry. Just trying to think now, what other conferences did we have? What games are we most looking forward to then? Sea of Thieves. Let's talk about Sea of Thieves.
Yeah, I was about to say that actually, because that does look fantastic.
My God, am I stoked for that game. I don't know, did it say it was coming to PC? Because if it is, I will be getting it on PC. But my God, that looks like one hell of a game.
It doesn't quite say where it's coming to. It was announced during Microsoft, so we can obviously presume it's definitely going to be on the One X.
Yeah. So
But
that's
if it's on the
something
One
at
X, I assume it'll come to PC, because they're doing this whole thing with
least the Windows
Xbox
10
games on
thing.
Windows 10, yeah, which I don't have, but I will soon have. So
Yeah. I'm just trying to Google it now, actually. Sea of Thieves PC. Will it be coming on PC? Maybe. let me try and find out. Google's very slow today. Join our insider program, become a legend, learn more about the game. It doesn't say. Available on Xbox One and Windows 10.
okay, yeah, so it will be.
Yeah, that's the thing actually, I've just seen at the bottom it's developed by Rare.
Yeah, it is.
Didn't know that. Well, I must have missed it when I was watching the console thing, but yeah, it's made by Rare. Which only adds to its credentials, really. That makes it...
I think because it's Rare, because it's only, I assume it's published by Microsoft, but it's developed by Rare. So if Microsoft don't interfere and the huge conglomerate that they are, their shareholders don't decide, hey, let's make an episodic thing like with the latest Hitman game.
Oh god.
I think this could be a a really, really good game.
Yeah, I think it looks like it's got character. That's one
Yeah.
thing I like. That's one thing I like to look at in video games, is that they got character. That's one of the reasons that I fell in love with Kerbal Space Program, for example, because you've got lovable little characters that are just there doing dumb stuff. It's why I fell in love with the Rabids that we mentioned earlier. It's also why I hate minions, because they're so sort of bland and
Yeah, I
just
know what you mean.
uncharacterful. But Sea of Thieves is just full of, like, you saw it in the trailer, the little quips that the announcer was making and everything. It's sort of, and you can see that that's reflected in the gameplay as well, and like the art style that surrounded it. And I think that it's something that's sort of dying out of games, like in the modern era, because it's just, well, we can talk about Anthem, can't we, as a prime example. It's just, what was it we called it earlier? Was it Anthem Titanfall of Duty or something?
It was like Tom Clancy's Destiny, the Titanfall. It's just a game, isn't it? It's just another
game
shooter
in a drab post-apocalyptic environment with knee-high walls that you can crouch behind to get cover and grow your legs back when you've gotten shot. That's all it is to me. It seems thoroughly uninteresting. It's like Destiny. That seems thoroughly uninteresting to me. I never picked it up. I've watched review upon review of Destiny, the original Destiny that is. I looked at it and it's just sort of like, do I really want to play this? Do I want to spend hours and hours grinding in similar looking environments and stuff? The most interesting thing for Destiny for me was the opening cutscene, because it had Mars in it. And that's as far as I got with it.
The thing I did like about Destiny, if I'm not mistaken, is the little robot orb that follows you around is voiced by Peter Dinklage, isn't it? And that thing,
Yeah.
that's a good thing. But
And then they replaced his voice with Nolan North.
You're joking. Well, because Destiny's got nothing going for it then in my books.
Yeah, it comes to something when not even Peter Dinklage can save a game. Like, Kevin Spacey just by the skin of his teeth saved like Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, like it's story-wise anyway. He just saved it. But no, not even Peter Dinklage could save Destiny's gameplay. Not even Dinklebot, bless him. God rest his soul. But yeah, Anthem. What do we think of that game? Obviously, we've already made it a bit clear that I find it bland.
Yeah,
And,
I don't care much for it either.
Yeah.
It's just another spacey... I do like the fully customizable exosuits. Like, customization in games is a big thing for me, and I like to be able to make my character my own.
Yeah.
And that, I do like how, like, the exosuit you can, well, pretty much... Well, not make from scratch, but you know what I mean. Put all the different parts together.
Yeah.
But
What did we think? Yeah. What did we think of the simulated voice chat that was in it? That I just personally, I find it so cringeworthy.
Yeah, it is. It's just so bad.
I know. It's like who talks like that online. It's like
If they want to simulate a realistic voice chat, they need to have a squeaker 12-year-old.
yeah,
Some guy who's taking himself too seriously, and another person who just doesn't give a shit and is there for the fun.
yeah. Or, well, we play online all the time, don't we? Playing GT Online and various other games that we've got on Steam together, and we basically spend 2 hours calling each other shitlords. You know, that happens. It's part of being like online, but you never see that with these, obviously, because I get they've got to try and be like politically correct and stuff like that, and like suitable for presentation, but you might as well not implement it at that stage, because it just comes across as cringeworthy and pandering.
Yeah, exactly. I'd rather, like, with a game like that, the opening should be a lot more... the launch should be a lot more dramatic and try to establish the world. Like, I know they want to push the whole 4-player cooperation thing, but I do think it would have worked a lot better without the distraction of the chat just being cringy.
Yeah, I mean, what you could even have just the announcer on stage, like with No Man. Do you remember Sean Murray with No Man's Sky when it first got announced? Do you remember him taking you through live on stage what was happening?
Yeah, that's...
Admittedly, that was scripted, but because he was actually there and it was a presence rather than just like dialogue that was recorded over the tops that was scripted and then obviously laced into the preview, I feel that was somehow more real and a bit more relatable than, say, for example, obviously the gameplay, the simulated voice chat. I find that to be, well, it's false, and you can tell it's false basically. Whereas with someone explaining the world to you on the stage and like the concept of the game on the stage while playing the game, that, I don't know, that seems a bit more, not so much genuine. You know, it's still scripted, but it feels more engaging, I guess.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like, if they want to have this sort of scripted thing, they either need to do that, or if they want to show off the gameplay the way they did with the whole cooperation thing, just have people on stage playing it.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, the technology and the software has been developed enough to be able to play it and then record voiceover. So why not just have people, like, understand there is the risk of what if the game messes up, but
yeah,
I'd prefer to, like, see them develop like this really small area of the game, like a really tiny level that people go through and actually communicate and play together on stage to show what the game is actually like, without, like, you know how when they look around and it's all just really slow and panny, obviously made for drama.
They got their sensitivity on like 1.
Yeah.
There.
Like pressing F8 on Minecraft or whatever the fuck the button
god. Oh god.
Speaking
I
of
forgot that
Minecraft,
button existed. That shows how long it's been since I last played Minecraft. But yeah, I totally get what you mean there. And coming on to the final sort of segment for this podcast, I guess, EA and Star Wars Battlefront, because they tried to do a similar thing, didn't they, with Battlefront having, obviously they did the same with Battlefield 1 last year. They got a load of YouTube influencers, i.e. I hesitate to call them shills, because they're not, they are good YouTubers, some of them, and they are, like, obviously members of the community and like the Game Changers program that EA have. This year they obviously did it with Star Wars Battlefront. They gathered 2 teams together and they got them to play a live game, which, although it's sort of like, you can kind of get where it's going, it's a lot better than just having like 2 people together, I think, personally.
Yeah, definitely. And while it was really cringy, in my honest opinion, it was, I'd say, one of the better conferences.
Yeah, which is saying something, bearing in mind it's EA.
Yeah, like, exactly.
Some of the things from that conference, though, like, you could tell it either wasn't very well rehearsed, or you could tell that, like, the creators were uncomfortable with what they were saying, or I don't know what it was, but who was that one YouTuber who was just stuttering over Need for Speed? I can't remember his name though.
Remember, yeah, but
it was such an awkward dialogue, and you can tell that sort of like, if they're going to use creators, they need to do a bit more rehearsal, because obviously they're coming from making videos behind a computer screen in front of their microphone to speaking in front of a live audience, as well as millions of people on Twitch. So, you know, naturally you need to do a bit more rehearsal, but that's just sort of, that's not related to the games or anything. That's just sort of towards EA. So that's just the presentation of the conference itself. It's nothing really to do with the actual products. But I'll tell you what is to do with the actual products though, and that is FIFA. Of course we couldn't do this without FIFA, our favourite game of all time. What are we thinking?
It's FIFA. It's the same game with the players slightly different. I know nothing about football.
It's a new season with Alex Hunter. What are we gonna do?
Dude, I know nothing about football. That name means nothing to me. All I know is FIFA's coming to the Switch, and I don't understand why.
Oh god. You can just imagine it, can't you? Like down in our local park or down in the quarry or something, we're going to have like a load of cheeky Nando's lads all carrying Nintendo Switches with their FIFA Ultimate teams on board. They're going to sit down in a group, they're going to strap their motion controls to their shins, and they're going to start having penalty shootouts with one another in order to gain each other over one another.
Yeah, so,
like,
FIFA's FIFA. Yeah. Madden 18 was announced, which is Madden. It's American
Madden 17 with an 8 in front of it. It's fantastic.
NBA 18, that does excite me, because I do like basketball, I like the NBA games.
Yeah.
But that's the only sports game I really care for, other than WWE and UFC. If you could call them sports games, really.
I was going to say, wasn't it UFC that they're implementing like this, you know how FIFA have the journey with Alex Hunter and everything? Aren't they this year, or like, I don't know if they've already done it because I don't really follow the sports games anymore, but aren't they implementing the journey into the basketball this year? Or something like that.
I think so, with NBA. Like, they did have for NBA 2K16 back when it was 2K, I don't know if it still is.
Yeah.
They did have like this career mode, and same with 17.
Yeah.
But it was very basic. Like there was no branching story or anything. You couldn't really control anything. You just went through, played some games, and that was it.
Yeah.
But I don't know, maybe they have this, it says a newer feature called The One, where wins, losses, and gameplay style will affect progression throughout your time with the game. So it does seem like that could.
Realistically, though, would that actually help in any sense? Would it be like sort of... Yeah, do you remember in the dim and distant past when Battlefield 4 first came out?
Just about.
Yeah. And they were touting that new squad perk system, and they were saying how it's really going to affect your team play because you need to rank up and everything, like to get more perks for your squad and everything. They were saying this is going to be like a core gameplay mechanic, and it ended up just being everyone just ran defensive perks to take less damage, and then nothing ever happened. And it was just a complete waste of a feature.
Yeah, I know what you mean. See, with this, I think this might work out better because what it is like you create a character, you go through a story, whatever, if there is a story or if it's just playing games. And the way you play, I don't think rather than affecting your story, it affects your character.
Yeah.
So like how your character might train or something will be different. It's just, I guess, rather than straight up choosing a position, I don't know, maybe you can be a bit of in between. I'm not really sure how it will work, but it's an interesting concept I'd like to see play out.
And obviously, I think we'll close off. Obviously, we have touched on Battlefront before, but Battlefront 2, what are we thinking? What's our thoughts on Battlefront 2?
I'm thinking that game already exists and it's called Battlefront 2.
Well, the EA Battlefront 2, the whatever it is. What are we going to call it?
It looks, Battlefront 2 looks like they listened to what people said about the first one.
Yeah. Truth is, though, should the first game have been like this in the first place? Obviously, yes, they have listened to community feedback, but you'd have thought, wouldn't you, bearing in mind how passionate people are for Star Wars, that the first Battlefront would have been like, well, this basically, like Battlefront 2 is now. But it's almost like they're trying to make up for it, so they're cramming every conceivable notion of Star Wars into it, if you know what I mean. It's like, I don't know.
I just feel like I think sales are going to tank because of the whole.
It'll be the Titanfall effect, won't it?
Yeah, and like I do like the idea of the story. The story does seem interesting because it is like what happened between, was it episode 6 and 7?
Yeah,
like between
it's fully,
Return of Jedi and
canon as well, isn't it?
Yeah, so that does seem interesting. I'd like to see how that plays out.
Yeah.
But it's just the fact that one thing I cannot understand is like how they managed to mess it up. Because Battlefront 2, like the original Battlefront 2, that was amazing. You could have like 120 versus 120 people on Hoth.
I know.
And like that was an amazing experience. Like that was an actual Star Wars battle. But then you go to like Battlefront, the EA one, and it's just like 12 versus 12 or whatever it is, and it's just a bit shit. Like,
yeah,
I really don't see the what like how they managed to make it go so wrong, but they really did.
They basically, the way I see it, and the way I think a lot of other people see it with the original EA Battlefront, that is that they saw, basically EA and DICE saw that obviously Force Awakens was coming out, the film, and they wanted to capitalise on the widest demographic possible, so they made the game mechanics as basic as possible so that people would play. Like as soon as Battlefront was released, loads of people would pick it up. Even I am guilty of this. I picked it up on Xbox One, and it's a fun game for the first 4 hours.
Oh yeah, it is enjoyable at first,
yeah.
But then it just gets repetitive.
Yeah, it just gets repetitive. You get bored after a while. Like you get to level 15, level 25 or something like I was, and you're just like, you know what, I'm done. And you can see a similar trend happening with obviously with Titanfall and with Battlefield 1 as well. Actually, Battlefield 1 is suffering from that greatly, although DICE are trying their hardest to fix that now from what I can gather. Whether that's going to be successful or not, obviously we don't know yet. They're still in the development phase of that sort of stuff. But obviously they made the game mechanics of Battlefront original really rather basic. There was no recoil. reloading mechanics were stupid and just stupid
Yeah.
simple. Like, they've added some recoil from what I can see in this version of Battlefront, but it's still not a lot, and that's the one thing that's gonna sort of plague my mind when the release of this gets close. It's like, have they fleshed out the gunplay enough to make it appeal to a more experienced audience as well as a basic audience, like a casual audience?
See, like, I really don't know who they're aiming at. I think they're aiming for the same sort of demographic, but with just a bit more content.
Yeah. See, realistically, you can't make a Star Wars game that's got like as many nuances and stuff like that as like armor, for example. You could make it, but it would tank because people would find it too hard, and the majority of Star Wars fans just want to shoot stormtroopers in the face. They don't want to like they don't want to go through all like the mechanics of having to select your weapon, and well, obviously they do, but like you get the idea, sort of like go through all unnecessary steps and learn the game and stuff. But at the same time, there are obviously people who've come from the original Battlefront games who want sort of more complex mechanics, similar to sort of like the recoil in Battlefield and the gunplay of Battlefield, for example, and the vehicle gameplay associated with it as well. And so you've got to try and strike an easy to learn, hard to master sort of game balance there. I honestly want to use sort of Overwatch or something like that as an example, because Overwatch is like sort of easy to get into, sort of.
But difficult to master.
Yeah, but it's difficult to master, and if you want to get really good, you have to put a lot of time into Overwatch in order to make sure that you come out the other side like tickety-boo. But you can if you just want to get in for a couple of rounds, then yeah, fantastic. You can go in, blast some people in the face. The same with Dirty Bomb, for example. You can hop in there, have a few rounds, have a blast, and then hop out again. Or you can really take the time to put in the hours, learn the guns, learn the maps, and you could easily play that game pro if you put in enough practice. And I think that's a balance that we really need to go for with the new Battlefront that's coming out. But will they or not? I think that remains to be seen.
Yeah, I mean, we can't really speculate that much. It is, after all, EA. We can't... My expectations aren't high, but they are there.
Yeah. Well, I think that pretty much rounds off this podcast. It's been a bit longer than an After Dark podcast because it is now sort of midday in Los Santos behind me.
Midday, and 5 days later.
Yeah, it is literally 5 days later. But we're going to pretty much round off this podcast here. I want to say a massive thank you for Simon to coming along to the podcast despite being high on Molly the whole bloody time. Yeah, we've drunk some good whiskey today. We've chatted some good stuff, and hopefully, if you guys like this sort of podcast news format, then we might even do another one. Maybe talking about some gaming controversies or other things that we find interesting within the games industry. So if you do like this, then let me know down below. I'm going to take Simon out back and shoot him in the back of the head. What? I mean, yeah. I'm going to have a good time. Drink the rest of this whiskey, etc, etc. All that remains to be said is thanks very much for watching, guys. Again, if you did like this video, please remember to leave a like, and I'll see you in the next one. This is Brad signing off, and peace out. Say bye-bye, Simon.
Bye.
That's right, you go outside. You walk away. Okay, you're just gonna stand there? Okay.
I'm leaving. I'm sad now.